Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great start to the day. It's always a great day to be doing some reading. So I have found out that there is a way I might be able to start reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, which was the initial plan, but I only have it in Chinese. But we are still doing some reading of The Art of Thinking Clearly. Very shiny book cover. Makes it a bit difficult to show, but it's all good. So I Am Very Good by Lease Cars and Vans, and everybody else that's joining. Nice to meet you all. Hope you're all doing well. Great to have you joining today. So let's have a look where we're up to. Not that far, definitely not that far. The last chapter we read was Why We Prefer a Wrong Map to No Map at All, the Availability Bias. And today we're up to chapter 12. Wow, this is going so fast. This is why it's so much fun to be able to read for you. So it's like consistent, it's daily. I'm here every day reading. Why No Pain, No Gain should set alarm bells ringing. The it'll get worse before it gets better fallacy. Ooh, this one's a good one. Okay, here we go. Who's ready? Everybody ready? Okay. A few years ago, I was on vacation in Corsica and fell sick. The symptoms were new to me, and the pain was growing by the day. Eventually, I decided to seek help at a local clinic. A young doctor began to inspect me, prodding my stomach, gripping my shoulders and knees, and then poking each vertebra. I began to suspect that he had no idea what my problem was, but I wasn't really sure, so I simply endured the strange examination. To signal its end, he pulled out his notebook and said, "Antibiotics. Take one tablet 3 times a day. It'll get worse before it gets better." Glad that I now had a treatment, I dragged myself back to my hotel room with the prescription in hand. The pain grew worse and worse, just as the doctor had predicted. The doctor must have known what was wrong with me after all. But when the pain hadn't subsided after 3 days, I called him. "Increase the dose to 5 times a day. It's going to hurt for a while more," he said. And after 2 days of agony, I finally called the International Air Ambulance. The Swiss doctor diagnosed appendicitis and operated on me immediately. "Why did you wait so long?" he asked me after the surgery. I replied, "It all happened exactly as the doctor said, so I trusted him." "Ah, you fell victim to the it'll get worse before it gets better fallacy. That Corsican doctor had no idea. Probably just the same type of stand-in you find in all the tourist places in high season." This is a very powerful story because very often people who do not really know what they're talking about are going to disguise it with "it'll get worse before it gets better" or very blanket statements. If you've ever read Macbeth, Shakespeare's Macbeth, the 3 witches talk about somebody who is going to be greater than Macbeth, but not greater. They're going to talk about different things in a very vague way. Horoscopes are a little bit like this as well. They are very vague. And there was an experiment that they did where they took horoscopes and they gave them to different people. And everybody said that they were so unbelievably accurate. And yet, each horoscope was exactly the same for people who are born at all the different times of the year. So you need to be careful of very vague and blanket statements, such as "it'll get better," keep getting worse until it gets better. Let's take another example. The CEO is at his wit's end. Sales are in the toilet, the salespeople are unmotivated, and the marketing campaign has sunk without a trace. In his desperation, he hires a consultant. For $5,000 a day, this man analyzes the company and comes back with his findings. Your sales department has no vision, and your brand isn't positioned clearly. It's a tricky situation. I can fix it for you, but not overnight. The measures will require sensitivity, and most likely, sales will fall further before things improve. Ooh, sounds familiar. The CEO hires the consultant. A year later, sales fall, and the same thing happens the next year. Again and again, the consultant stresses that the company's progress corresponds closely to his prediction. As sales continue their slump in the 3rd year, the CEO fires the consultant. A mere smokescreen, the "it'll get worse before it gets better" fallacy is a variant of the so-called confirmation bias. If the problem continues to worsen, the prediction is confirmed. If the situation improves unexpectedly, the customer is happy and the expert can attribute it to his prowess. Either way, he wins. So it's important to make sure that people have a plan and that you can see the result of that plan. So if somebody tells you to just trust them, that it'll be okay, it's important. That's why when I talk about my seaweed, I talk about my seaweed a lot. It's important that you also do your own research, that you also figure out for yourself what could or what couldn't work. So another great way of doing this is by actually having a talk to, for example, this consultant and asking them whether they're willing to be paid a percentage of what you're going to make as opposed to the $5,000 a day. Make sure that they have some skin in the game, because then they will show their true colors. If they really believe in what it is that they are telling you, then they will be able to show that. If they don't believe in it, they'll probably run a mile away from you and not want to have anything to do with you because they don't believe it for themselves that they're able to assist you. So that is a great way of checking. A mere smokescreen, it'll get, we've read that part. Suppose you are a president of a country and have no idea how to run it. What do? You predict difficult years ahead, ask your citizens to tighten their belts, and then promise to improve the situation only after this delicate stage of the cleansing, purification, and restructuring. Naturally, you leave the duration and the severity of the period open. A lot of experts would not know how to really predict something. Humans in general, we are very bad at predicting the future. We are able to work on our future goals and we can have plans and ideas of what we will do. But life is so unexpected, it's almost impossible to know what will come up in the future. But we can prepare for certain things in order to be able to make sure that we at least have some contingencies in place. And that's what you're also wanting to look for, because you can know that something might happen, but you've already thought about it, as opposed to, it'll get worse before it gets better, but not really doing anything to find how to fix those things that might get worse. The best evidence of this strategy's success is Christianity. Its literal followers believe that before we can experience heaven on earth, the world must be destroyed. Disasters, floods, fires, death, they're all part of the larger plan and must take place. Believers will view any deterioration of the situation as a confirmation of the prophecy and any improvement as a gift from God. I have a feeling that Rolf Tabelli is definitely not a Christian or a very religious man. In conclusion, if someone says it'll get worse before it gets better, you should hear alarm bells ringing. But beware, situations do exist where things first dip and then improve. For example, a career change requires time and often incorporates loss of pay. The reorganization of a business also takes time. But in all these cases, we can see relatively quickly if the measures are working. The milestones are clear and verifiable. Look at these rather than to the heavens. So definitely not a very religious man. There are things that we do not know in this time and space. If we look back 300 years ago, we thought that everybody was an idiot because they used to bloodlet, they used to do this, they used to do all these really weird things that nowadays we wouldn't do because our science has advanced. But in 300 years' time, people will look at us right now and probably say the same thing. Why on earth did they do this? Why on earth did they do that? Why on earth did they... A good example is already breast implants made of silicon. So in the 90s, this was the hot thing. Everybody was enhancing their breasts with silicon implants, and then they started to leak and people got health issues. And now we look back and say, oh my goodness me, what on earth were they thinking? But there are things similar to that we are still doing to this day. And so we need to keep that in mind. And there are things that we just don't know that we might find out in the future. So when it comes to religion, when it comes to different other things, miracles, we don't know what we don't know right now. And so who knows what the future will bring and what we will find out about religion and miracles and different other things that right now we just don't have the technology to understand. So I definitely don't agree fully with Rolf around that one. We need to be open-minded to what is out there, because there are things that in 300 years we will seem primitive to that are advanced and that will be able to show us how the world really works on those kinds of levels. So that has been a very interesting chapter, a bit of a religious, so a very taboo topic added into that one. So that's always a lot of fun. Okay, next time we are going to be reading chapter 13, Even True Stories Are Fairy Tales. This is called The Story Bias. I'm looking forward to reading this one tomorrow. I don't remember this one, so this one's going to be fun. It's a little bit longer, this one too. Well, just slightly longer. Okay, I hope you got some value and enjoyed this one. Why no pain, no gain should set alarm bells ringing. Just remember today, your day's going to get a little bit worse before it gets better, but you're going to make it. You're going to get there. So ignore that completely. Have a great day. It's great having you all. And if you have any questions, if you'd like to participate, I don't know if I even really realized what was going on. I see a couple of people have joined, and there might have been a couple of comments. I do apologize, but I was so deep in the book that I did not realize that everybody was liking and commenting and doing different things. So leave a comment, get in touch, follow me back, and then you can send me a message. And I'd love to hear from you and discuss these things, because I love reading, I love giving the commentary, but I also really love being able to discuss it. So feel free when you watch the YouTube replay, or if you are in Bigo watching live, or in Zoom watching live, feel free to comment and let me know. My phone is covering the chat box though. So I just noticed that there's a message in the chat. Oops. Let me quickly check that one. So my phone was, Laden said, good morning, who is watching live. And I didn't notice because my phone was covering the actual thing that said that there was a chat, because that way I can look at the camera directly, which is really good. Okay, looking forward to reading some more of this book tomorrow. Have a great day, and I'm looking forward to any comments or messages and follows, and I'll see you all again tomorrow.